Great, thank you. All right, well, welcome everyone. I'd like to call the September 20th, 2022 special council meeting to order and begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Katzie, Kwantlen, Musqueam, and Semiahmoo First Nations. And for any members of the public who are in attendance to watch these proceedings, welcome, and just a reminder to keep your mics and your camera turned off while you are in attendance. I do want to take a moment right now to pay some respects to our dearly departed Majesty, Her Majesty the Queen. It's been a long 10 days. I know the funeral service was yesterday, but an absolutely amazing lady who's led our Commonwealth for over 70 years and dedicated herself to service like we have. A great example to all of us on loyalty and honesty and moving things forward and changing with the times. And she was ever unwavering. And, you know, we owe her a debt of gratitude for living the way we do in our democracy today. So with that, I will ask that we do a minute of silence in respect and honor of Her Majesty. And thank you. Thank you, everyone. I hope we had some time to reflect on how she's touched our lives. And going forward, God save the Queen or the King. So congratulations to King Charles III. He will carry on just as she has. Certainly not as many years, but he's been in it his entire life too. So I'm sure he's ready for the job. So thank you for that. Introductions. I'm Mayor Val Vandenbroek, and with me today I have Councillor Paul Albrecht, Councillor Terry James, Councillor Gail Martin, Councillor Nathan Pahal, Councillor Rudy Stortebum, and Councillor Rosemary Wallace. And for staff, we have our Chief Administrative Officer, Francis Chung, Derek Light, our Director of Corporate Services, Carl Johansson, our Director of Development Services, Rick Baumhoff, Director of Engineering, Parks and Environment, Kim Hilton, our Director of Recreation, Culture and Community Services, and Kelly Kenny, our Corporate Officer, and I believe Scott Kennedy is here today, our Fire Chief. So welcome everyone. Okay, so we had to move the council meeting from yesterday for the funeral for the Queen. So adoption of the September 20th, 2022 special meeting agenda. Before we consider adoption of the agenda, I have two proposed additions that have been circulated to council in advance as required. Are there any other proposed changes or additions to the agenda? Seeing none, call the vote. Or sorry, I need a mover and a seconder, please. Sorry, motion that the September 20th, 2022 agenda be amended to add the motion entitled Motion number 3, Gala, to the agenda under new business. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Mover and a seconder. No one wants to move and second it? Not surprised. Okay, go on to the motion that the all those opposed. So we'll go on to a notice of motion. Okay. Motion that the September 20th, 2022 agenda be amended to add the motion entitled Governance Review to the agenda under new business. Mover and a seconder. I'm not going to follow policy and procedure that it was circulated on time. Interesting. Okay, great. All right. It'll come forward next week because it's a notice of motion now. So gonna have to deal with it either way. So motion that the September 20th, 2022 agenda be adopted as circulated. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Pahal, Councillor Stortebum, all those in favor? Good thing, because we obviously need a governance review. All right, on to administrative reports. Asset management grant application, developing asset life cycle and risk analysis. That council endorses the UDCM local government development approvals program grant application for the development of asset life cycle cost and risk analysis. That the remaining project budget be funded within the city of Langley's approved 2022 capital plan. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Albrecht, and a seconder. Councillor James. All those in favor? And that carries. All right, bylaw 3160, zoning bylaw amendment and development permit number 0720. Final reading of a bylaw to rezone the properties located at 5394, 5396, 5400, and 5402 207th Street from the RS1 multiple residential low density zone to the CD72 comprehensive development zone to accommodate a 6-story, 68-unit development apartment development. That the bylaw cited as a zoning bylaw 1996 number 2100, amendment number 172 2021 number 3160 be read a final time. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Bahal, seconder. Oh, Councillor James. Any further discussion on that? Call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. All right, development permit approval DP 0720 5394 5396 5400 and 5402 207th Street 6-story 68-unit apartment development. The development permit application number 0720 for a 6-story 68-unit apartment development at 5394 to 5402 207th Street be approved. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Sortaboom, seconder. Councillor Bahal, all those in favor? Any discussion on that? Usually isn't, so I'll vote. And that's approved. So on to bylaw 3226, permissive tax exemption bylaw, first, second, and third reading of a bylaw to exempt certain lands and improvements from municipal taxation for the year 2023. Mr. Light, do you wish to provide a brief overview of the bylaw, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So every year the City Council approves or looks at a permissive tax exemption bylaw, allowing permissive tax exemptions for certain properties within the city. There are no new applications received in 2023. So these are the same organizations that were approved for permissive tax exemptions last year. It's a status quo basically, and the total of the permissive tax exemptions is $367,856,000, which is about 1.1% of our overall property tax levy. And that is within the permissive tax exemption bylaw policy that council adopted last year. And that's my report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Light. All right, motion is that the bylaw cited as the permissive tax exemption bylaw 2023 number 3226 be read a first, second, and third time. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Sortaboom, Councillor Albrecht, any further discussion on that? Call the vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. All right, on to bylaw 3227, financial plan 2022 to 2026 bylaw amendment. First, second, and third reading of a bylaw to amend the 2022 to 2026 capital improvement plan, various projects. Mr. Light, you again, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So there are 14 different projects that we're looking to amend in our 2022 capital improvement plan. A number of them are relating to grants that the city's received from other levels of government, which we want to make sure that we include in our capital plan. We did have some tendering of some of our vehicles that came in higher than we anticipated. And that's just what's happening out there. So we need to increase some funding for some of our vehicles. And then there are some other projects that are listed in the bylaw related to different areas of projects. So if I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have in that regard.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Light. Any questions? Don't see any. And I do have a quick question though, Mr. Lake. What are we doing forward to account for, rates of inflation and such that we're seeing right now?
So that will be impacting our 2023 capital plan and our 2023 operating budget. So that will come to council after the election in October.
Great, thank you. All right. Motion that the bylaw cited as the financial plan 2022 to 2026, bylaw 2022, number 3194, amendment 2, bylaw 3227 be read a first, second, and third time, please. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Albert, Councillor Sturdivant, any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. All right, on to new and unfinished business. Motions and notices of motion. National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, Every Child Matters banner. Councillor Hall, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And then through the mayor, I'll just read the motion that council directs staff to place the Every Child Matters banner across the 2 Fraser Highway gateways to the downtown for the week of September 26th, 2022.
And Councillor Wallace has seconded that. Should we not just change this to every year? I thought we had done that, or staff was going to do that. I thought it was an automatic.
I don't recall. Maybe staff could speak to that, Madam Mayor. I'd be happy to make it, if you wanted to amend it to be every year, I'd be happy to second that.
I don't see why it couldn't be. Mr. Chung, did you have a?
Maybe I'll.
Sorry, you came up on the camera, so I thought you had something. Councillor Wallace.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that forward, Nathan Hall and Councillor or Mayor Vandenbroek. I think I agree with you. It should just be embedded in as an every year thing that we do. But maybe there's a reason why not. I'd like to hear why not.
Through the mayor to Councilor Wallace and McCall, no, there is no real reason why. Staff will certainly entertain that amendment to have the banner put up every single year. Thank you.
So are you okay with that friendly amendment then, Nathan?
Yeah, and maybe for clarity, just so that staff knows what week it is, just maybe if through the mayor to Ms. Kenny, if there's the wording you might have recorded to make sure that it's, I guess that council directs staff to place the Every Child Matters banner across the 2 Fraser Highway gateways annually for the week of, I guess, for the week in which the Day for Truth and Reconciliation occurs.
We could get Councillor Wallace to second that. Okay. Any other changes or additions or? Okay, thank you for bringing that forward. All those in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Okay, moving on to Citizens Assembly on Community Safety Reform in Langley City. Councillor Paul, go ahead with your motion.
Thank you. And I don't want to read it all out as it is just, it's rather lengthy. So I'm happy to move it as it's presented in the agenda, unless anybody wants me to read it out loud, and then I can comment further once it's seconded. If.
Councillor Wallace is seconding it, so.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just a few things I wanted to highlight here. And I don't want to make this into a long speech, but with the budget coming up for next year, I thought it was important to put this forward while staff is considering our process. Over the years, we certainly have had various plans and policies around community safety, crime prevention, homelessness, poverty, but we really haven't looked at it through a holistic lens. And just the conversations I've had over the last year with healthcare professionals, with police service, fire service, I've had many chats. I've kind of come to the conclusion that there's a lot of good work happening in our community, but it might not all be coordinated. There might be work that we're doing that we've always done a certain way just because we've always done it a certain way. So I think this is a really good opportunity to involve our community with the full cross section. So this is something we've never actually done in Langley City, where would go out deliberately and say, we want to have people that represent every facet and demographic of our community, combine them with experts, and really dive deep across all the calls for service that we do in Langley City, whether it's an engineering request to, a police request or a fire service request, because they all intersect. So for me, it was really important, again, to put this forward. I think it's something we've never done before. We've tried many things over the years. The end result is, while we've done great work and I know we've helped people, when you look at the community statistics over the years, people still feel less safe. So I wanted to put this forward so that it can be considered in the budget, so staff have enough time to review this. And, the new council can discuss this fulsome in January. So I hope that folks support this, because I think it'll be a fresh approach. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wallace.
Thank you through the mayor to Councillor Pahal. Thank you for bringing this forward. I think we all on council the last 4 years, what we've had, the topics that have come up for us are pretty serious topics. And, when we talk about the mental health, the opioid crisis, we have our First Nations partners. There's just we need to look at, as you said, Councillor Hall, that holistic lens. We need to look and work with our, you mentioned in your motion, the poverty and homeless and perception of crime has been top of mind. But I'd also say that the medical, the things that people are struggling with, with mental health, and even just trying to find, doctors and, being on waiting lists. I know that we just attended the UBCM, and that was a big topic, is, what is happening in our health field, and they're struggling big time. And I think the approach to safety isn't just about police, and as much as we need the police, for sure, we need everybody to be together in as we move forward to take care of the community. And I like the whole idea of the citizens assembly being the citizens of Langley City coming together and to discuss what we can do to make our communities safer. And I know it. Before COVID, we had the neighborhood meetings, and I found them to be really, really helpful with gathering community together, and just that community building and having the citizens have a voice. I think it is so important. We have amazing nonprofits, partnerships within the city doing amazing work with our homeless and our vulnerable populations. So I just want to say I'm totally for this motion, and I am very grateful that you brought it forward. Thank you.
Councillor Albrecht, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I too want to thank Councillor Pahal for bringing this forward. This is something that we've had a number of conversations about, and this isn't a reflection of our policing or our bylaws. I think there's an opportunity, as Councillor Pahal and Councillor Wallace has said, to engage our community and try to find a model that works more effectively and efficiently, and reduce some of the stigma, try to reduce some of the stereotypes, and provide avenues and better synergies in the community, because we have a lot of complex care issues that currently are being missed. There's gaps, and I think this is a very effective way in dealing with the complexities of our society, and I think it will be an exercise really worth the time and the energy. So thank you for bringing this forward. I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Councillor Stutterboom, go ahead. You're on mute.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My compliments to Councillor Pahal for bringing this initiative forward. I think it's excellent and timely, and I will be supporting it. Thank you very much.
Great. Any other comments? So I do have a couple of questions. I do think it's a great idea. I just think it's a little bit MTIV with the Langley Homelessness Action Team that we're doing with LSCAT with the provincial government. We are in the midst of doing a strategic plan, and there will be community consultations going on. I agree. I think the open meetings that we used to have that we'd have in the neighborhoods, which unfortunately was canceled because some people believed it was too political to have it at this time, is a great way to get out and talk to our public. So to me, UBCM is already doing a review, and you folks were there. You do know that the RCMP is being reviewed. So why would we do a review and waste our money first? Why don't we wait and see? As well as we used to have a crime prevention society that did exactly what you're talking about many years ago, Nathan, that worked in conjunction with the Community Resource Network. So all those resources need to be reconnected. And if we can get the people, the citizens, to get a crime prevention society together, then they can do it in their hands and work with the rest of the RCMP and the volunteers. That stopped happening when the city position was removed from the community police office and given to a township employee. Since then, things have changed, and a lot of the work to work with the community and the businesses like Crime Watch, Business Watch, all those sorts of things, and engaging citizens has changed. So although I find this is a great idea, I think we're jumping the gun in a sense of, why are we going to let UBCM and the province review all policing services and paramedics and everything, waste staff time and money, when we could work alongside them on this provincial committee, which we've been doing along with our social planner, to come up with a better plan instead of spending double the money. So what would your response be to that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for the opportunity. So one of the things that's really important about this plan is that it is a citizens assembly, which is a unique model. And I know you mentioned some of the things like a neighborhood meeting or citizens groups that get together. But the real key about a citizens assembly is it's not just volunteers. So as you may know, Madam Mayor, when you get volunteers that come to a group, you generally bias it towards people that are privileged. What this does is it actually seeks people who are a cross-section of our community and folks that might actually not be privileged enough to volunteer or consider volunteering. That was kind of the cool approach about this. And I talked to Don Iveson, who was the mayor of Edmonton, actually, and he said, yeah, no, you need to do this. He was telling me actually at FCM that this is what they did to tackle some of the tough challenges and problems they had in Edmonton. The other thing I could say is it's really good that we're participating in UBCM and these other conversations, but Langley City does have unique needs. And I think the folks in Langley City have the unique lived experiences that we need to hear from and combine that with the folks that are experts in the field. Again, you're not going to get that at UBCM or some of these other committees, because again, they're all kind of in silos. This is really looking at the calls for service that we get across, fire, police, BC emergency, PCEHS, ambulance services, our parks department, our engineering department, and really digging into Langley City specific challenges. At the end of the day, we really need a solution that is for Langley City, from Langley City. I don't think we're going to get that through UBCM. Again, we should look at their work, just like this motion suggests that we look at the transformation of community police or policing in BC. But at the end of the day, we do need a plan for Langley, and one that is holistic and one that involves all the community, where we're actually going out to make sure we get that full representative demographics. Does that answer your question?
I don't disagree with that. I think you're jumping the gun though. And I think we're going to spend a lot of time sitting around meetings and nothing being done, and people are going to complain, because no matter what we change in Langley City for us, it's not going to change. It's the provincial and federal governments that have full control over what you're talking about. So, and being a volunteer or being a committee on the board, there is no difference and there is no privilege. So I disagree with those statements immensely. Councillor Wallace.
Through the mayor, maybe to everybody, my thoughts in this is that build back better, need to do something different. We just went through a pandemic, still are going through a pandemic. The amount of mental health on all levels and all ages has skyrocketed. I think we are at a crucial time to be doing things different. And by putting this forward, I think we're inviting the citizens, whether they sit on the Parks and Recreation, whether we talk about climate change even, and the equity piece and how important that is when it comes to, the floods and the heat waves and more things to come. I think we need to look at how we do things differently, and as far as the holistic approach, and what do we do for prevention, and how do we listen to lived experiences of those who are elderly and have lived through the crises, or those who are homeless that are struggling on the streets, or those who have tried to find care and get put through this hoop and that hoop and that hoop and that hoop. When we can listen to the citizens with the stories that have probably already gone through the avenues to get where they are, I think we need to be coming together and listening to one another, and the value that comes from listening to story can save lives. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We do need to share stories. I'm just saying, I don't think this is the right way to do it. That's all. Councillor James.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well said, Councillor Wallace, and thank you, Councillor Pahal, for bringing this forward. I see the value in this because we can wait around for other organizations to do the reviews, but it won't be Langley centric. And by organizing something like this ourselves and involving our community members, I can't help but think that that would be taken very seriously at the provincial level, because we're actually taking action on this ourselves and involving our community, who is exactly the people that we're hearing from about the issues mentioned in your motion. So I will be fully supporting this. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And I'm opposed due to costs. Duplication. Electoral redistribution 2022. Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you. Can I just check? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, there's quite a lot of whereases, so I'm only going to read a few just so the public understand where this motion is coming from. Whereas the proposed election boundaries will reconfigure Langley and Cloverdale into new configurations and change which member of parliament represents local residents. And whereas the Langley riding was created a couple of decades ago that included just Langley City and Township, whereas the City of Langley and the Township of Langley should be one electoral boundary represented by one member of parliament, given the historical context, the number of shared services, shared school district, shared RCMP detachment, and shared regional city center designation between two communities. Whereas the proposed electoral reconfiguration will further split the riding into multiple electoral boundaries from the current electoral boundaries and create further challenges for the member of parliament that needs to represent 3 municipalities within the riding. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Langley objects to the proposed federal electoral boundaries for the City of Langley. Be it further resolved that the City of Langley, excuse me, request Electoral Boundaries Commission to consider reconfiguring the electoral boundaries to have one boundary for the City of Langley and the Township of Langley, and be represented by one member of Parliament. And be it further resolved that the Council for the City of Langley submit this motion to the British Columbia Electoral Boundaries Commission for their consideration. And I believe the public hearings are happening this week. Thank you. And I would move this.
No seconder, Councillor Pahal. Any discussion? Councillor Pahal.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just say that I'll be supporting this. Looking at the redistribution, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's almost like whoever put the proposed new ridings together actually hasn't been to Metro Vancouver. So thank you, Councillor Martin, for putting this together.
Did this recommendation come from a local MP?
I spoke to, it did not come from him. The motion is ours, but he did suggest that we actually get involved in the public hearings. And I'm not sure we all have the time to do that. So I thought it would be a good way to bring this forward, and we could send it to the commission for with our comments.
So you're bringing this forward on behalf of John Aldag, is what you're saying?
No, I'm not bringing this forward on behalf of John Aldag. I'm bringing forward on behalf of myself because I don't agree with the new boundaries. And there's several people that don't agree with the boundaries. John
Okay.
Aldag has nothing to do with this. Thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Sturdivant.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to offer my compliments to Councilor Martin for bringing this forward. I fully support the initiative because I really think that who's ever drawing the line is out of touch with what a community is. So I'm happy to support it, and thank you for bringing it forward, Councilor Martin. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, motion that the meeting adjourn. I need a mover and a seconder, please.
Madam Mayor, could I just bring up one more thing under new business, if you don't mind?
Madam Mayor, I don't think we voted on the motion, have we?
Oh,
All
yeah,
right,
right.
vote on the
We'll take-
motion. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Nope, sorry.
Well,
Motion
you
is
did,
that the
you did,
meeting
it's to do with the death of a former employee, Madam Mayor, and you gave condolences to the Queen, and that wasn't on the agenda, so I would just like us all to remember Jim Smith, who passed away recently and worked with families and children for, I don't know, 30, 40 years in the city of Langley, helped many youth get over their problems. And by reading Jim's obituary, he's asked that we take a moment, or you take a moment, to remember him in your own way. So this is just a way for us to remember Jim Smith, and we can all do it in our own way. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you for bringing that forward. Yeah. Okay, we're doing nicer, but we've done it in a nicer way. Motion that the meeting adjourn. I need a mover and a seconder, please.
Could I ask what you
Sure.
mean by what done in a nicer way?
Well, it would have been nice if you had just brought that up at the very beginning when we were all talking about it and not been so snarly about it, Councillor Martin. Quite
Well,
honestly.
you're the one that said you wouldn't allow it. So, you know.
Well, the thing is, you're
Uh-uh.
adding things and you're not following policy and procedure. And those are the things that I'm going by here is governance. And unfortunately, this council continues to ignore that. So those are the rules. I'm the chair. Don't like it, you can leave the meeting. That's what it comes down to. Thank you
May
very
I ask-
much.
May I ask
All
one
right, that the meeting
question?
adjourn. I need a mover and a seconder. I had
One
Councillor
question,
Hall and
please.
Councillor Wallace. No,
Oh,
sorry.
anytime you're in the wrong, you want to adjourn it.
Absolutely fantastic. Thanks for those comments, Councillor Martin. Meeting that the meeting adjourned. Can all those in favor? Goodbye.